I mean, look, if someone's just filling the area with vampires, attempting to make the bloodline stronger, you don't want to be there when you have blood.
Drop show.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Drawk Show, the show where I do drawings for all of you while I talk to our guests about either a character they love, a franchise they love, or anything they're an expert in. Today we're talking about a franchise, and we're talking to someone who I would definitely say is an expert in it. As you might see here, I already have a basic composition done. That's just because that part's really, really boring to watch, so I like to skip that so we can get right into the content. Next thing we're going to do is introduce our guest, Travis. Travis, you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Hey, hi there. My name is Travis. I guess technically I could call myself a magic content creator. I
Yeah,
create content that has to do with magic, so that's fun.
yeah.
I write for a website called Commander's Herald. I write specifically the article series Cut, where if I bring on deck builders and I give them challenges, and through 2 weeks we find out through a series of challenges who is the best or the most popular deck builder. That's
Okay.
and that's my shtick. That's what I do.
That is such a fun concept. So,
Mhm.
before we get into the concept, I am a huge Magic fan, but I'm kind of a strange Magic fan in that I'm very in and out. I tend to only stick around for like 2 to 3 sets, and then I tend to dip out for a couple of years, and then I come back when something piques my interest. I think I might stick around a little bit more consistently now that I've started playing Commander, because it's a format that lends itself to playing casually more often, I think, a bit better. But because of the in and out way that I play, there's a lot of sets that I have not been around for that I've entirely missed. And for those of you who don't know, the way that Magic works is conceptually, as a player, you're a planeswalker, which is someone who can go world to world, dimension to dimension, and conscript an army of spells and creatures to fight other planeswalkers for you. And because of that, every set that's released takes place on a different plane or dimension. So I wanted to talk to Travis about some of the sets that he knows a lot about so that I can learn about the ones that I have no experience with. So can you guide us into who I'm going to be drawing today and what plane she's from?
So the I guess person technically.
Yeah, person.
Your person, yeah, she's a person. You're
Yeah.
going to be drawing today is Drana.
Hmm.
So Drana is the last surviving Blood Chief. So Blood Chief is a title given to the leaders of the vampiric clans or groups on the plane of Zendikar.
Hmm.
Um, so she's the last Blood Chief of the clan of Calestria. The they're the most powerful vampire family of Malakir, which is a region on Zendikar.
It sounds like the
So
place that would have vampires.
yes, and actually the the origins of vampires on Zendikar is interesting.
Okay.
Um, so actually, probably won't really get into. I mean, I guess I could get into a little bit.
No, let's do it. We're talking about Zendikar. I wanna crash course in Zendikar. I wanna learn about Zendikar.
Totally, yeah. Um, Double checking a couple of things. Some of my references, yeah. So vampires have existed on Zendikar for hundreds of years, I want to say, ever since Soren Markov came around.
Okay, and
Um,
that guy's a planeswalker.
yes, so Soren Markov is a vampiric planeswalker who is very, very old, thousands of years old. Um, and he actually, as I keep going, it's kind of like he was on Zendikar with two other planeswalkers. They're known as the Three.
Flip the
Soren
canvas.
Markov the Vampire, Ugin, this spirit dragon. Again,
Wait, okay,
very
he
ancient.
was a spirit back then. He didn't die at some point. What?
Yeah, he. So the funny thing with Ugin, yeah. So he at that point, I believe, was corporeal dragon.
Okay,
I believe.
He's at this point a living, breathing dragon who is a planeswalker. Planeswalkers being the very powerful entities who can walk between dimensions.
Exactly. Yeah. Uh, the reason why I'm kind of him and hawing about it is I might be very knowledgeable. There's a few things that I'm a little bit not super knowledgeable about because of timey-wimey shenanigans.
Yeah.
Ungin was once alive, and then he died, and then he's alive again, but he doesn't have a physical body.
Okay.
He's a spirit dragon.
So you think at this point it was truly alive, but you could be mistaken because it gets fucked up a lot.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Yeah. Again, look, as we get into the details of the present day, I'm going to expect, like, probably what you're saying is going to be a lot more, like, concrete, what you know about, but the lore bits of the setting, I imagine, like, the long history, I imagine, is the stuff that's going to be harder to feel as certain about.
Totally. I mean, I know in the past few years, few meaning 5, Magic has kind of, Wizards, which is the company that creates Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, Wizards of the Coast.
Wizards of the Coast have been very, I don't want to say wishy-washy, but more loosey-goosey with the story in some aspects.
So you won't say wishy-washy, but you will say loosey-goosey. What's the distinction of intensity between loosey-goosey and wishy-washy?
Wishy-washy is completely ignoring a lot of stuff, and like loosey-goosey is like, yeah, we'll acknowledge that, but like not that over there.
Okay, we'll be selective, and maybe like the really important stuff we're going to keep track of, but like if we don't see it as really important.
So after we've reached the tangent of the 3 planeswalker. Oh, I forgot to explain the last planeswalker.
Oh shit!
Is a core. So core are these peoples who are native to Zendikar.
Okay.
They are gray-skinned humanoids. They look very human. They very actually in ancient Zendikar they ruled over essentially the entire plane. They had floating cities where their I guess their top brass, their leadership, their royalty would sit at the top to make sure they could, and they would call them skyclaves, and to make sure that they could keep control all over Zendikar.
Okay.
But that was ancient Zendikar, a long time ago. A lot of stuff has happened, like when those 3 planeswalkers appeared. So Nahiri is the core female planeswalker that I'm talking about.
Okay.
They decided to trap and I'll explain what they are in a second, the Eldrazi onto the plane of Zendikar. So the Eldrazi...
Cthulhu nightmare monsters.
Exactly. Yep. Totally. That come from the what is called in the Magic universe the Blind Eternities.
Yeah.
Which is this like ethereal space that exists between the planes of existence in the Magic multiverse.
I just realized I've chosen a low angle for a character who arched eyebrows and a downturned pointed nose are 2 of her defining features. 2 features that are indistinguishable when you draw from a low angle almost.
Yeah.
Great choice on my part, I must say, to pick an angle that makes her face far less recognizable, but... moving on.
So, moving on. The reason why, I have all this set up and... really presenting the stage for Drana. So Drana, again, was a blood chief of the Calestria vampires.
Yeah.
And when the Eldrazi were trapped on Zendikar by those 3 planeswalkers, Zendikar was, as a plane, was changed forever.
Yeah.
You
don't trap a nightmare god on a planet and have things like stay good.
Exactly. So the mere presence of the Eldrazi being there, and it wasn't just like one; it was 3 distinct Eldrazi titans. So these giant eldritch abominations were stuck by a spell concocted by the 3 planeswalkers onto Zendikar.
Now, do we know, are there more Eldrazi Titans that might exist and haven't come into reality, or are these the three?
There has been no confirmation one way or the other.
Oh, they're leaving that open. That door isn't closed.
No, that Eldritch Abomination door is wide open.
So any cultist out there in the Magic universe could just be like, I'm gonna summon one of these.
Totally, yeah. So Ugin, one of the planeswalkers who trapped them initially, he had this great analogy of, so these Eldrazi are basically representations of the blind eternities themselves. They're just physical manifestations of the if there was a supreme being, or if there was very much like I would say Marvel, their oh my god, I had the name, I cannot remember their name. They've got the big funny heads, the bunch of lights, and
Ooh,
they are
the things the things what Galactus is.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
One of those dudes. So essentially,
yeah.
that's what Ugin said they are a part of. His analogy was that the Eldrazi Titans, that the plane of Zendikar was a pond, and the Eldrazi Titans were fingers reaching into the pond. So that was his analogy, saying like they are connected to something much bigger.
Okay.
And the reason, why he used that is little, fast forward story of Zendikar. The Eldrazi end up being released by all sorts of coincidences and like the weakening of Zendikar and their bindings.
Bunch of fantasy shit going on.
Yeah, all three get released. Two of them stay and wreak havoc, and the one of them kind of goes away.
He just didn't want to hang around.
Yeah, she didn't want to hang around. She just left. Emberpool just left.
Just left.
And the other two Eldrazi Titans, Ulamog and Kozilek, continued their wrath until this group of planeswalkers banded together and created what is called the Gatewatch.
Which I've heard described as Magic the Gathering Avengers.
Essentially, yeah. So it was 5 different planeswalkers all came together. Of the 5 different colors, and made an oath to protect the multiverse from danger. And thus, the set Oath of the Gatewatch is where that happened.
Okay, that fitting name.
Yep.
So many sets involve the word gate, huh?
I guess so, yeah.
Hey, you got Gate Crash, Gate Watch, Baldur's Gate.
Lots of gates, and there are gate type cards too.
Yeah.
That's fun. So, anyways, they form this planeswalker group. All of them band together and they defeat the 2 Eldrazi Titans.
Nice, good for them. I'm proud of them.
They did it. Ugin comes back, and he's like, "What the heck, guys? Why did you kill them?" And they're like, "Well, they were destroying Zendikar. They were completely eradicating everything." And Ugin's like, "Well, sometimes, you gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet.
You gotta break a few Zendikars to make an omelet."
Yeah. He's like, we could have studied them.
He's a ghost at this point, right?
He is a semi-permeable spirit.
Okay,
at this point.
so the Magic the Gathering Avengers show up. They stop death and destruction from Cthulhu and friends, and then a ghost dragon arrives and is like, "Why did you stop Cthulhu and friends?"
We could have learned so much from Cthulhu and Friends. It was my favorite show. And the part of the reason, the part of the reason why Ugin, Sorin, and Nahiri trapped them on Zendikar in the first place is because Ugin wanted to study them.
Okay.
And then he got killed. But
Yeah.
so yes, I'm pretty sure he was a full dragon at that point, because then thousands of years have passed.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of the history about the Eldrazi and what ended up happening to them. Where Drana gets involved in the Zendikar story is that she, like a bunch of the vampires, end up becoming corrupted by the Eldrazi's influence during the battle for Zendikar. So
Okay.
after the two Eldrazi titans are freed, or all three, sorry, three are freed during, I believe it is Worldwake and Rise to the Eldrazi, is when they
Okay.
all
So
get
those are the names of
freed.
the sets. Yeah.
Those are the names of the sets. They all get freed and they all start wreaking havoc. The vampires, some of the vampires on Zendikar, turn to the Eldrazi influence
So
and they start
just real quick,
worship.
to set the flavor. I've always heard Zendikar described as like, sort of the D&D like the D&D vibe setting in Magic is just that people are getting like the energy of what it is pre Eldrazi. Is that kind of right?
Totally. Yep.
Okay.
It is 100% the, I would say like the D&D kind of setting where you're just dungeon delving all of the time.
Okay.
You're going through ruins,
So a
you're
lot of
going through
magic items, a
jungle.
lot of big powerful
Yeah.
magic stuff, probably powerful wizards and the like.
Yeah, more like powerful adventuring wizards going through.
Okay, so it's not like wizarding schools, but it's like adventurers.
Yeah, it's more. I mean, later the most recent set where we visited Zendikar was 2 years ago now, or was it a year ago? I don't know. Recently-ish,
Yeah.
it focused more on the adventuring part, like going through ruins and discovering artifacts and doing monster hunter kind of stuff where
I
you
know
are taking bounties on big
I
creatures.
know it was in theory special to the D&D sets, but I feel like the delve mechanic and dungeons would fit so well in that. Like they could make some original dungeons and have delve cards in Zendikar.
I think that would be quite cool.
I get
To
that
kind
it
of
makes the
like.
flavor hard,
Hmm.
and anytime you add a new dungeon card, it powers up all the cards with delve, so it's tricky.
With the I think it's enter the dungeon
Venture.
or
No, not delve. Delve is different. Venture. That's what it is.
yeah,
Oh my god.
venture into the dungeon.
I am
Uh,
so many terms, man. But venture, yeah, it
yeah.
makes all the venture cards more powerful if you introduce more. I guess more dungeons, I guess. But it just feels like if it's focused on adventure, that'd be so cool and fitting. And because it originally has like a D&D vibe, introducing the mechanic from the D&D set just feels like it fits.
I mean, they also actually. I don't know if this is true. I'm gonna just take a quick peek here
Okay.
because by the time Zendikar Rising
Uh huh.
came out, Throne of Eldraine had already been out.
Which was the like
I believe.
storybook setting, King Arthur and Grimm's Fables.
I believe. I might be. I've been playing.
I
Magic
think
for
that's
so many
correct
years,
because
they've
I
all
was
kinda-
playing when Eldraine released, and I wasn't when they went back to Zendikar.
Yeah.
So I think you're correct.
Okay. I think I'm correct too, but also let's see, what year was it? It was.
I actually really
2020.
liked Throne of
Yeah.
Eldraine.
Oh, yeah.
That was a set I really enjoyed. I thought the aesthetic was very fun.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't. I thought they definitely did, but they did not. Actually, we're going back to Eldraine next year, so that's fun.
Yeah, I heard that. So back to Zendikar. Sorry.
Back to Zendikar. I just took a look, and they didn't. Definitely a missed opportunity where they could have put the adventure mechanic
Yeah, adventure
into
from
Zendikar Rising.
That's
from
bizarre that they
Eldraine.
wouldn't. Honestly.
Yeah. Instead, they introduced this new mechanic called, I believe it's just the quote-unquote party mechanic.
Oh yeah, where you
where-
have a wizard, a warrior, a rogue.
Rogue and a cleric.
Which is cool but difficult to do.
It is, and usually the bonuses are very,
Not worth it.
yeah, they're very watered down. I think because they were just worried about. So they're in Magic. There's the type Changeling, which is all types
Yeah.
at once.
So if you have a single changeling on board, you get the ability.
You don't.
Oh,
Well,
you
because
don't. It has to
you have
be
to have a
separate creatures.
Yes, but
Oh,
if you
okay.
have 4 changelings on the board,
And then you get
you
it.
have you get it. So yeah, and also re-looking at this set and thinking about it comparatively to power level of the other sets around it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it was a lower power level set comparatively to everything else.
Which is interesting because when I was trying to describe the vibe, I used the word powerful a lot.
Well, see, you say that, and then we go back to when we first went to Zendikar, the 3 sets Zendikar, Worldwake, and Rise of the Eldrazi were very powerful sets. And during, and actually, one of Magic's most famous cards came out during one of those sets.
Okay.
I want to see if you can guess it.
Zendikar Resurgent.
No, that's
Yeah.
that's over the Game Watch. But right plane. So one of Magic's, think of
Rampaging
like
Baloths.
Oh my god. Also Zendikar, you were also correct, but no. When you think of Magic characters, like very well-known Magic characters.
Is this a Planeswalker?
It is, yeah.
Oh god. Fuck. I'm trying to remember. Is it one of the white ones that's busted?
No.
No?
No,
is it Soren Markov?
No. Well, he also was released in a Zendikar set, but
damn. So I'm getting the right energy.
Close. Yeah. So I'll just say it. Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Oh, so it was one of the Jaces. Okay. Jace was probably 2 guesses away, it being a Jace card, because I knew it wasn't the first Jace that would have come out, but I know Mind Sculptor. Yeah. I couldn't remember the name Mind Sculptor, but I was aware that was the good one.
Yeah. So Jace the Mind Sculptor, probably one of the most infamous Magic cards besides Black Lotus.
Yeah.
He dominated formats, dominated tournaments, was banned, for most of his life, was a very expensive card, very hard card to get, but now has been reprinted into the ground so that he's still expensive, by my standards.
Expensive for a card that's been reprinted into the ground.
Yeah.
It's like how if Sol Ring was any other card with how much it's been reprinted, it would be 2 cents.
Exactly. Yeah. So that card was printed in Worldwake.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it was a very high power set, like game-changingly powerful.
There's also another card, just because I know it was one of the 3. Is it original? No, it's also Worldwake. Okay. Worldwake. Wow, what a powerful set.
That set came out there and fucked things up.
Yeah. Stoneforge Mystic is a very powerful card as well.
I've seen that a lot. Which one is that? What does it do?
So it enters the battlefield. You get to look through your library, so your deck, for any equipment card, and you put it into your hand. And then
anything that lets you tutor in general is crazy.
Her other ability, you pay 2 mana and tap her, and then you can put an equipment card from your hand onto the battlefield.
Holy fuck. So yeah, in a game about resources, the ability to seek something out and play it while skipping resource cost is bonkers.
Totally, yeah. So there was this equipment that came out in a set before, or a couple sets before Worldwake, that was part of that standard format.
Okay.
Called Batterskull.
Okay.
So Batterskull is a 4, I believe it's 5 mana, sorry, which makes this even better. 5 mana equipment that is equipped creature, gets +4/+4, and has vigilance and lifelink.
Pretty good.
So, yeah, for 5 mana, it's pretty good. Well, not only that, but it also has this ability called Living Weapon. So when
So
it
when it
enters the
enters the
battlefield,
battlefield, it has a thing it's equipped to immediately instead of needing to pay an equip cost. Meaning if you can play it for free, you are just boosting ahead of the value curve of where you're supposed to be.
100%. And plus, it has another ability here where you can pay 3 and return it. I keep forgetting it has its ability. Return it to your hand.
So if it's ever destroyed, when people do if people do manage to, oh no, it's not even destroyed. You can return it to your hand, and then replay it, creating more tokens and getting it out of binds, huh? And getting
So say if,
ETB triggers.
yeah, say if someone tries to destroy it, you leave 3 mana open, you return it back to your hand. And then if you have your Stormforge Mystic, you can just put it back down for 2 mana.
Many situations where that is very useful. Because you can play it for free.
Yeah, there was a whole deck called Cawblade that played other cards, obviously. But, that interaction was very much... And also Jace the Mind Sculptor was in that deck, too. Very much a control deck. Took over Standard. And... So the original Zendikar, Worldwake, and Rise of the Eldrazi perpetuated what was called battle cruiser magic.
Okay.
Right. So definitely they're limited formats. So limited is
you can only use a few
either
sets.
Draft. Oh. Yeah, either draft or pre-release.
Things where the entire catalog of cards are not an option.
Exactly. Yeah. Thus the name limited.
Yeah.
Limited was definitely more of the battle cruiser magic, big mana effects going against other big mana effects.
Instead of trying to, instead of tempo and speed being the dominating factors.
Yeah. Totally. So yeah, that's kind of.
So that's the effect of it. Let's get back to Drana. We were there for a sec. We were in setup, and then.
We're there for 2 seconds, and then, not anymore.
It happens. It happens. We're here to chat, and I'm here to learn.
Yeah. Basically, when the vampires all started converting to worshiping the Eldrazi.
Yeah.
There was a leader of the Get family, which is another family of vampires on Zendikar.
Okay.
There's a leader named Kalitas. And so he became very much the leader of the Eldrazi worshippers.
Okay.
So part of Get attacked Malakir, and then Drana fought back against Kalitas and all of his Eldrazi worshippers.
Oh, fought back. I heard thought back, and I was like, she thought back to a better time before the vampires were worshipping squid monsters.
Yeah. And then, after that battle, her forces were a little bit decimated, and so she ended up joining with the other folks, like the humans and the merfolk and the other denizens of Zendikar as they're fighting the Eldrazi.
Yeah, so I noticed she has a lot of tribal being a magic term for things focusing on a creature type, tribal effects in some of her cards with ally creature type. And I noticed a lot of cards from Zendikar focusing on ally, and I was wondering what that was about, and it sounds like we're getting there.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah, no. Oh, we can get there right now. During Worldwake, and I think it's really just Worldwake and original Zendikar, and then it comes back in Oath of the Gatewatch and Battle for Zendikar. The creature type ally really signifies the joint forces of the Zendikarians as they battle back the Eldrazi. The entire, you could call it a coalition, but it never became anything official. It's just they all joined together to fight back.
Just shared resources and cause.
Totally. I don't say the de facto leader, but the main leader of the forces was a woman by the name of General Tazri.
Okay.
She ended up. It was really her and the Planeswalker who eventually became part of the Gatewatch, Gideon Jura. They were really helping lead these forces against the Eldrazi.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when Drana came in and joined up, she was like, I want to make decisions. And Tazri's like, well, I'm the leader. And Drana's like, well, all right, fine. You can take command.
Mm-hmm. Okay, less stubborn than I expected.
Yeah. She believed that Tazri really knew what was going on, and she just let her do her thing.
Mm-hmm.
So after the Eldrazi Titans were defeated, Drana and like all the dust had settled. She was the only surviving Blood Chief.
Because the rest all joined the bad side, which lost.
Yeah. So she now holds. So now, fast forwarding to present day Zendikar, she holds complete leadership over the vampiric society as it, rebuilds from its complete devastation after the Eldrazi.
Okay.
So that's my mistake. I thought, actually, I'm reading this now so I can like refresh my brain. But
Gotcha.
it was my mistake. I thought Blood Chiefs were the leaders, which they are. So I'm not wrong. But there's another little detail that I forgot. Is that Blood Chiefs are essentially part of like the first generation of vampires on Zendikar.
Okay. So similar to Vampire the Masquerade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so one of her missions on Zendikar now is
so was she turned by Markov, Soren Markov?
Yes.
Interesting.
So she's trying to create new Blood Chiefs is her goal, and actually it's kind of reflected in her card. Where whenever in her card from the newest Zendikar set, Zendikar Rising, whenever you attack with her, you take a creature out of your graveyard and it becomes a vampire. So she's enlisting more vampires to Zendikar.
Interesting.
I mean, the thing that I'm reading right now, I do like the last line of it. The desire to rebuild her shattered race makes Gul'Draz, which is the area that she ruling over, particularly dangerous for non-vampire visitors. It's very funny.
Valid. I mean, look, if someone's just filling the area with vampires, attempting to make the bloodline stronger, you don't want to be there when you have blood.
No. Yeah, so she's had 3 cards in Magic's history.
Okay.
Her first card, Drana, Calistria Blood Chief.
Okay.
Kind of straightforward. Essentially, her ability is X black, which means the X you put as much mana as you want into it.
Yeah.
And
mana being the resource for energy in Magic the Gathering.
Yes. Target creature gets -0, -X until end of turn.
Okay.
So you take away the creature's toughness by whatever you put into the X cost. And Drana gets +X/+O until end of turn.
Okay.
So it's very thematic of a vampire sucking the energy or the life force out of a creature and empowering themselves,
using it for her own gain.
Exactly. Very, very vampiric.
Hey, just a reminder to all of you out there, if you want to help me use you for my own gain, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell everybody to watch. Sorry, you were saying?
So her next card after that was Drana, Liberator of Malakir. So
Okay.
she, as I explained before, she helped lead the other vampires that were left.
Yeah, the ones who
And
didn't want to help with the squid monster takeover of the world.
and again, this card also very flavorful of what she did. So she's flying first strike, which, without getting too much into the minutia of the rules, is just meaning she hits before most other creatures in
Yeah.
terms of combat. Whenever Drana deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. So thematically, it means, she strikes first, which makes everybody else stronger.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And she's also a vampire ally on this specific card, which means and this card was released, I believe, in Battle for Zendikar initially. See if I'm right. It is. Yay. Because the version I'm looking at is not that version.
Yeah, it's a reprint.
Yeah. So thematically, since if she's leading the team, she strikes first, everybody gets stronger. And gameplay wise, it means that your attacks become that much more potent if she's attacking. And then her final card, as I explained before, brings things back. So it's called Drana, the Last Blood Chief. Whenever she attacks, so again, another, being more aggressive.
Yeah.
Defending player chooses a non-legendary creature card in your graveyard. You return that card to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it.
Oh, so the opponent has a little bit of control.
Yeah, so the creature is a vampire in addition to its other types. So as I said before, her, she wants to bring, again, very thematic. All of these Drana cards have hit, theme and flavor right on point. So she brings them back as a vampire and makes them stronger because of it.
Mm-hmm. I like that idea. It's interesting because a lot of vampire cards I've noticed in Magic are very tribal synergy. Like, it's about using vampires, and it seems like her abilities are not vampire centric. They are she makes vampires, but she doesn't benefit from already having vampires. She's just a cool, aggressive graveyard deck commander.
And for the last one, yeah, her most recent printing.
Mm-hmm.
In the commander format where you have her as your commander, each one of those Dranas plays completely differently.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, you want to have lots of access to black mana so that you're able to,
spiral out of control, get a lot of energy,
drain out your opponent's creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Give them the suck, if you will. The second card wants you to be attacking all the time, so it's a very aggressive deck. You want to be attacking with Drana as soon as you can and attacking with all of your other creatures to make sure that they can get bigger whenever she attacks. And then the third one, again, as we already said, really wants to lean into a graveyard strategy. You want to get non-legendary big creatures in your graveyard so that your opponent has to choose
something that still benefits you. They can't pick something weak so that you're not getting benefit.
Exactly. So it will put your opponent in a hard spot. So yeah, Drana has received some really cool cards over the past, since I'm not that old, I want to see when. Oh geez, when did the first? I want to say it was Viraza the Eldrazi, 2010. Cool. So the first Drana card was printed in 2010.
So over the last 12 years, she's had a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So, are there any other cool, like, story, character, lore from Zendikar that you think is worth knowing about?
Well, I mean, my favorite planeswalker, something that we mentioned, Zendikar, my favorite planeswalker of all time hails from Zendikar.
Oh, okay.
She is part of the original Gatewatch. She helped defeat the two Eldrazi Titans. And her name is Nissa Ravain. She's an elf from the I always
Get a flip.
always forget.
Flip.
It's I want to say it's Moldaya. I could be wrong, but where the exact Jiraga, of course.
So
yeah,
close, I think.
So close. Or she's from. Okay, she is originally from Balaged, and she has. So the funny thing about Nissa, is that she has been. Like what I said way back when we first started talking, 40 minutes ago, was, Wizards of the Coast being more loosey-goosey than wishy-washy.
Okay.
They were more on the wishy-washy side for Nissa. For good reason.
She was an elf genocide person, right? Or a pro-elf genocide?
Well, pro non-elf.
Yeah, a genocide in favor of elves.
Yes. She wasn't part of like the original Planeswalkers to come out, but she did appear on the plane of Lorwyn, which is Magic's first attempt of like fairy tale-esque.
Before Throne of Eldraine, that was the fairy tale one.
Yes.
And that is one that I don't know a lot about and do want to talk to you about in the future.
Oh, totally. That's the one I'll have to do some like deep research about it because I wasn't really playing during Lorwyn, though I do love the aesthetic and I have got a lot of cards that I do love that are from Lorwyn and Shadowmoor. And also that story is a little bit more complicated than, Eldrazi or I guess tentacle monsters raising a land and then getting defeated. Has to do with suns and Lorwyn flips into Shadowmoor at certain points and everything gets dark and spooky.
Fun.
But another time. Nissa. So yeah, Nissa was, for using the term literally, she was literally racist. She very much was was almost taught, but being raised among elves and then her spark igniting for the first time, going to Lorwyn, where there's elves who believe that they are better than everybody else, and then really in her formative years being around those elves who believe that they were better than everybody else. Kind of rubs up on her. So when the Magic set came out in 2015, I believe, called Magic Origins, which was Magic's start of creating the Gatewatch, like that's their starting point. They kind of like took that bit out of Nissa's origin story. They talked about her being a young elf on Zendikar and hearing that the plane was in pain because of the Eldrazi.
Right.
And then she ended up something very traumatic happened to her, and her spark ended up igniting, and they kind of said, yeah, she went to Lorwyn. And now back to the present day. Kind of glossed over that part of her past.
Okay. Nissa.
Yeah.
Okay. So at the
Yeah.
point
So they
of
actually,
this
yeah,
story, at the point of Zendikar, what was the situation with her? Just so I can get my bearings.
sorry. So the point of Zendikar when she was young was when the Eldrazi were locked away.
Okay.
They were still locked away, but they were causing harm to the ley lines and the actual. And it's been kind of said that like Zendikar itself as a plane is like a living, breathing plane. I mean, all the planes kind of are,
Yeah.
but Zendikar
More
is
so.
almost a being in and of itself.
Okay.
It actually it did something cool when the Eldrazi were locked away and like really hurting it on the inside. It itself created what is called the Royal.
Okay.
So the Royal, to describe it like in plain terms, is random events of environmental cataclysm, I guess, would be like how I would describe it, where all of a sudden the ground that you're standing on might just start shooting up into the air. Or
Okay.
you might be on a piece of floating rock that will just start plummeting, or an earthquake would happen, or a tornado, a typhoon will just appear. Um, it was Zendikar essentially lashing out in pain,
Okay.
and becoming almost uncontrollable. Um, oh, interesting. Okay. So as
Oh,
I'm,
discovery.
reading here just to refresh my memory on things, they actually completely revised her origin. I
What?
wasn't. Yeah.
They've changed it.
Uh, yeah. They changed it.
Nisa?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
When
So
did that
they're
happen?
not. Well, it happened during Origins.
Oh, okay.
Just at the time, I think I just read her origin story of what they printed at the time, and not her original origin story. Um,
Okay.
so essentially, her revised origin, she arrived on Lorwyn.
Uh-huh. So that
She
still
made a
happened.
connection. Yeah, she still arrived there. She made a connection,
Okay.
uh, and then she was confronted by a character named Dwynen's elves, who Dwynen is I believe was, a higher up elf.
Yeah. Elf
Excuse me.
military man, to my knowledge.
They accepted her alien beauty. So essentially, because she's an elf, but she looks different than
Yeah. Are
the
the
Lorwyn
Lorwyn
elves.
elves the ones with horns and hooves?
Yes.
Okay, the
Yeah.
weird
I
boys.
don't know if they have hooves, but they have horns.
Okay.
They have normal
I thought they
feet,
had weird
but
fucked
they
up
have
feet, or
horns.
is that a different plane of elves?
That might be
All I know is
that
I've got some
cow.
elf warrior tokens with some fucked up feet.
I mean that would be Kaldheim elves, but who knows?
Well, it was before that.
Um, okay, maybe it was them.
Who knows?
Uh,
Maybe some of them have
yeah,
fucked up feet and some of them have normal feet.
yeah. I'm looking at. Oh, no, you're right. Nope, they're fucked up feet. You're so
Okay.
right.
Cool, cool. I'm right. I'm right. I'm right.
I'm looking at their feet now. Now that it's zoomed in, um, they looked normal until I zoomed in on their feet.
Yeah, they're not like so fucked up that from a distance you're like, yeah, that's wrong. But then you look at them in detail and you're like,
Interesting. Yeah. So they accepted her alien beauty. Then she realized that they were hunting and killing innocent creatures,
okay,
and she confronted the elves about it.
okay. Good on you,
Um,
Nissa.
the Great Aurora, which is a big event that happened on Lorwyn, triggered and changed all of Lorwyn, as I said, to Shadowmoor,
Okay.
which is what happens. So when the Great Aurora happens, Lorwyn then changes to Shadowmoor. She was tempted to learn the dark secrets of the plane, but found the power to planeswalk back to Zendikar. So, I mean, essentially, it was right.
Okay, that
She
didn't
got
change
to
much.
Lorwyn, saw things, and was like, all right, I
Bye.
could learn more, but nope, bye.
I'm not feeling it, guys.
Yeah, she went to Ravnica, which terrified her.
Yeah, that's the one that's all city. Elf in the big city. That's a rough time.
And actually, she was part of the reason why the Eldrazi were set free.
Oh shit! What'd she do?
So she wanted to set them free because her original card was in Zendikar, the
Uh huh.
original Zendikar set.
Okay.
Essentially, so instead of helping Soren, because she was walking with Soren, dealing with the Eldrazi, instead of helping him to reinforce the bind that's on the Eldrazi, she shattered the main Hedron, imprisoning the Titans.
Okay.
She thought they would just leave. They would just go away because they didn't want to, be stuck here anymore. Because she wanted Zendikar to be free of the Eldrazi.
Yeah. So
But
she thought and one of them did. To be fair, she was 33% right.
well, one of them did after a while. Like
Okay.
after the other two had very much like started to really do their thing, Emrakul kind of slowly pieced out of there. But it wasn't because it was for the reasons that she was being called to somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why she left, because she was being called and drawn to another plane.
Okay.
And actually, it was funny. So when Nissa was wrong and Soren was with her, Soren was like, "I'm gone. Yeah, you fucked up. I'm out of here. Bye. Not my problem."
No, not dealing with that.
Yeah. So he planes walked away.
But then it turns out it was his home that she went to.
Yes.
The great irony.
Totally. Yep.
Turns out it was your problem. And it turns out you were right to leave because they needed help.
Yeah. So essentially, Nissa was very much involved in everything that went on for Zendikar.
Mm-hmm.
Battling back the Eldrazi, battling the two main Titans with the help of another member of the Gatewatch, Chandra Nalar.
Mm-hmm.
Empowering her with like essentially all of Zendikar's mana flowing through Chandra Nalar, who's a pyromancer, just erupting flames all over the big Eldrazi Titans.
Okay.
So that's how Nissa helped defeat the two Eldrazi Titans. She then went on to adventure with the Gatewatch for a little bit. She ended up breaking her oath. Essentially, she's like, "I'm done." She did this after the set War of the Start. Yes, it was War of the. No, it was.
No?
Hold on. Just trying to remember the tournament of it. I'm pretty sure it was before War of the Spark. Yeah.
Okay, what's the situation?
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay.
So I just had to read to refresh my memory. So essentially, they were traveling around, doing their gatewatchy thing.
Uh-huh.
And they had caught on to this plot by this
The bad dragon.
metallic armed
different
planeswalker
guy.
named Tezzeret. Made this big kerfuffle on a plane called Kaladesh, and then they chased him to another plane called Amonkhet. Little did they know that a member of their own group, of their own Gatewatch, one of the original members, Liliana Vess, was just using them to help her find these demons that had not tricked her, but these demons that had binded her into this contract to keep her immortal.
Okay.
And so she used the Gatewatch to help go kill those demons.
Right. So that
Uh,
she was no longer obliged to her contract.
exactly.
And then
Nissa found that out, was pissed about it, and she's like, "Fuck you guys, I'm gone. I'm out of here. Um, I'm not being a part of your stupid little club anymore because you trusted, like Liliana used us, and you're not like properly. You're not mad at her.
you're not
the
mad
the
enough. Get
hell
angry.
exactly." Um, so she was brought back in War of the Spark, which ended up being, Nicol Bolas's,
Which
who's
is the evil dragon.
he's an evil planeswalking dragon who's been an evil dragon for essentially all of Magic's history.
Isn't he the
Um,
brother of Ugin, the spirit dragon we met earlier?
yes, he is, it wasn't canon until like, 2022?
Recent.
4 years ago? Maybe 3, I think it was core 2019, so
Okay.
the 4 or 3 years ago, was written into canon that Ugin and Nicol Bolas were twins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they hatched from the same egg.
Is that how that works? Okay.
Yeah. Yay for dragons. Their egg fell from the sky. They hatched into two.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyways, during War of the Spark, all the planeswalkers over the multiverse were called onto Ravnica, by not their choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so Nissa was already there, and so she ended up helping the Gatewatch to defeat Nicol Bolas. Gideon, the guy that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the guy who works with the lady
and,
who is the head of the Allies.
yes, he ends up dying in the conflict.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. He dies because so Liliana, once she defeated all of her demons, she was like, sick, I'm free. And then Nicol Bolas, who was the broker of that contract, was actually like, I'm the broker, so technically the contract is now just mine. So Liliana, I now own you. Come here.
I own your soul.
Yep. And so she then had to work for Nicol Bolas during War of the Spark, and help control tens of thousands of undead soldiers, which Nicol Bolas got earlier, in a different story.
Did he get that from the Egypt one?
He did. He got
That makes sense. They'd have a lot of zombies.
Yeah, they have a lot of in the story. They end up creating. So Lazatep is this hard, rock mineral, and they end up coating all of their risen undead in this Lazatep plating, and this Lazatep skeleton that they create. And Nicol Bolas ends up killing 3 of the 4. Hold on, Hazaret. Hazaret, Oketra, Bontu, Kafnit, and Ronas. Yeah, so he ends up killing 4 out of the 5 gods of that Egyptian plane, and turning turning 4 of them into what he calls the God Eternals, which were these risen, plastic-plated zombie gods.
So he made a bunch of super-powered zombie gods that he took to the city planet to fight a war with the magic Avengers.
Essentially, yep. And his goal was to kill all the planeswalkers, absorb all their sparks, and become a god.
Because the spark is how you do the planeswalking, and if you eat all of them, you get really powerful.
That, because back, way back in Magic's history, planeswalkers were essentially gods.
Yeah, they were way more
could
powerful.
Create planes. They they had magic beyond belief. But then something called the Mending happened and took all that power away. It was
Which is where they
essentially
mended the lore and became way less the 80s version of fantasy, where wizards are unstoppable and can beat everybody, and they wanted planeswalkers to be the fantasy wizard, the peak of the fantasy wizard.
totally, yeah. So Nicol Bolas wanted to become a god again, essentially.
Yeah.
But
Fun to make adjusting the power level of your game canonical, where you're like, hey, does it suck that, like, everyday people are just absolute useless pawns who can't do anything in the face of planeswalkers, and that they have complete fundamental control of reality? And people were like, it might. It might suck.
yeah, just a little.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Then they beat him. Then they beat the dragon with his zombie gods.
Yeah, with his zombie gods. Gideon ends up dying because he gives his invulnerability power to Liliana because she turns against Nicol Bolas because she sees, like, wow, he's really fucking everything up. And, like,
how did she do that when he owns her soul?
So, she turns around and starts leading the army against him. And as he realizes that the army is going against him, he's like, well, you're dead. And starts killing her. She starts, like, burning into nothing.
Because the soul is being
Gideon sees
killed.
that, transfers his invulnerability power to her, and takes on what's happening to her, but to him.
Oh.
So he ends up dying, and she stays invulnerable. And it gives her just enough time to control the two. There was two remaining gods. Two of them were killed by the Gatewatch, and the denizens of Ravnica took down two of them. But the two that were left turned against Nicol Bolas and essentially took his spark and destroyed it, or something. I don't remember what they did.
They did something.
They did something with it. It's been a while since I've read that story, and they put it in a Slurpee cup and put the cup on the shelf.
Yeah.
So
nobody can
anyway,
get it
so he
from
ends
the
up dying. And the where was I going with this? Yeah, so that ends up happening. Liliana doesn't die. Nicol Bolas gets defeated, gets stuck in a little material realm called the Meditation Realm, where now Ugin is his forever caretaker, making sure he cannot leave that realm.
At least he's hanging out with his brother.
Yeah. So Nissa goes back to Zendikar.
Okay.
After
which is
going
what
to
we were
Theros,
talking
where
about.
Gideon's
Yeah.
from, participates in his funeral, goes back home. So she's back to Zendikar. She meets another Zendikarian planeswalker, someone we've seen before, Nahiri, the core planeswalker.
Oh, the one who put the spaghetti gods into the box.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh, okay. So I see something interesting there, that Nissa's who broke them out and she's who put them in there.
Yep. So they end up meeting and they end up talking, and they're kind of bonding over they're both, because they're there's another planeswalker that's from Zendikar, but she's not really featured in any stories, and I feel really bad for her, though I will talk about her in a quick sec. This merfolk planeswalker did steal an artifact from a god. So that's
pretty
cool.
dope.
Anyways, so Nahiri and Nissa, they talk. But Nahiri wants to stop the royal. Because Zendikar's royal, even after the Eldrazi are gone, it's still going on.
Yeah, it's hard for a planet to alter course.
Totally. And so Nahiri ends up finding this, what is called this lithoform core. Essentially, it's a device, or basically a big ball of energy in an orb that the ancient core peoples used to power their skyclaves, their giant floating cities. And it's very powerful. It's a very powerful device. And Nahiri ends up using it accidentally, really, and kills one of Nissa's elementals that she summoned, because it drains the essence out of the elemental to use its power. And Nissa's like, that ain't cool.
Uh-huh.
The fuck? You can't use that if it's going to destroy the environment. What? So I kind of should have mentioned this before, but Nissa is a green aligned planeswalker. So
And
what that
green
means
is
in
all
Magic is
life and natural world and forests and the like.
exactly. And so essentially, Nissa's an environmentalist. So she sees that happen and she goes, "The fuck? What? What are you doing?" And so then from that point on, she butts heads with Nahiri. And so this is during the Zendikar Rising story, the most recent set that we've had in Zendikar.
Okay.
So Jace, who's another planeswalker we've talked about before, who was an original member of the Gatewatch, ends up getting involved. Nahiri asks him to help her find another artifact. And so her and Jace go to find another core, but Nissa tries to find it before them and tries to stop.
Core, Core, not the name of the race.
Yes, not the name of the race.
Okay.
And so as they're going, Jace finds out Nahiri will do anything to get, and I hate using this analogy, but it's true. Nahiri, so the core planeswalker.
Not Kor, not Core.
Yeah, Kor. No, very confusing. Wants to make Zendikar great again.
Oh,
is essentially
boy.
her.
Is it that vibe?
Basically.
Oh, that's intentional, huh?
She wants to get rid of the royal. She wants to get the core back. So Kor.
Yeah.
The core.
God, that is. Why would they
place.
Why would they make the noun Core important in the set?
Yeah.
That's not a good choice.
So, her and Nissa, they clash when they find this Core.
Yeah.
And Nissa summons a bunch of elementals, and they're battling back and forth. And Nahiri is what they call a lithomancer.
Okay.
So her magic is stone crafting, right? So she can shape stone into whatever.
Yeah.
So they were battling back and forth. So she used so Nissa ended up holding the Core. That's what we're gonna call it. And she used the power, and then it collided with Nahiri's hedrons, these diamond-shaped stone magical pillar things. And everything exploded, and it wiped out the building they were in. It also, in like a probably mile radius, all the elementals were dead. All of the plants had died. Everything living had been turned to dust. So she very much sat there in the middle of this dust, just drained and exhausted and so sad.
Mm-hmm.
But then she felt this energy resurging, and the soil around her and the soil.
Wait, are you telling me Zendikar was resurgent?
She felt, everything recovering, and the new life started to sprout out of the ground quicker than it usually would. And she realized that the thing that she had done its job. It cleared all of the damage that was done and allowed for new growth to appear. Yeah, so
she learned her lesson.
She called up vines and then zoomed home, realizing that the tool that she has can be used to regrow Zendikar and make it more beautiful than it was before, and help regrow it to the beauty that it once was, how she had it, to keep it more natural.
Well, that's a nice ending.
And so, yeah. And then Nahiri essentially just was like, well, fuck you. I don't want this. If this is the Zendikar that you're going to have, I don't want any part of it. And she
I
fucked
want
off.
the one where I can be an ethnic supremacist. And this is like,
Essentially.
it's okay. You'll have
Yeah.
an arc where you learn not to be an ethnic supremacist too. We all have to go through it.
Yeah. Um, and Nahiri is, I think, like 2,000 years old.
Okay.
Nahiri was part of the planeswalkers that were essentially gods. But then the mending happened and
Yeah,
she lost
way
that,
way
but she's
back in the
still,
day.
yeah.
How's she
Oh
alive?
yeah,
How's she doing that?
so funny story. Um, she helped Soren trap the Eldrazi on Zendikar.
Uh-huh.
The Eldrazi end up causing havoc because they're still, um, on Zendikar. And so she ends up going to Soren's. So this is Nahiri you talked about. Ends up going to Soren's home plane, Innistrad, which is the Gothic horror plane.
Yeah.
So vampires, werewolves, spirits, and then the humans that get killed by everything.
Yeah. The humans who are doing their best.
So Soren had built this device, or this very giant enclosure called the Hell Vault. What he planned to do with it is he built it so that it was somewhere where all these very powerful demons could be stored. They could just be thrown in there. It's like a demon jail, or like anything that's causing a big problem, throw it in the Hell Vault. Get it out of here. Now, Nahiri, after she realized what was happening to Zendikar after trapping the Eldrazi there, went knocking on Soren's literal door as like, what the fuck? My plane is dying. We have to move the Eldrazi. We have to do something about them. And Soren's like, not my fucking problem. Not my problem.
The guy just keeps
You're
being
a child about this. Like, Zendikar is just the sacrifice that is needed to protect the multiverse. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Not my problem.
I mean, easy for him to say, not his home. Although it would be.
And then she would not take that for. She's like, that's not good enough. You have to help me solve this. So they end up fighting, and amongst while they're fighting, Soren ends up essentially, this is Sparta kicking her into the Hell Vault.
Uh-huh.
So she gets trapped in the Hell Vault for a long, long time.
I'm guessing by the name that the Hell Vault's not the best place to be.
No. Essentially, it's a liminal space of blackness.
So this is Nakari we're talking about, future ethnic supremacist being trapped in the Hell Vault.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, something happened one day when she was in the Hell Vault.
Okay.
It cracked, and it was broken open by Liliana and Thalia, I believe, who was a denizen of Innistrad.
We're not going to get into Thalia, but Liliana was the one whose soul was owned by demons and then by a dragon, and then whose death killed Gideon.
Yes. So obviously this is pre all of that.
Yes.
Also pre the death of Gideon, but yes, she still is under contract by these demons because one of the demons that she signed the contract with was in the Hell Vault, and Innistrad's protector, who Soren created, this angel named Avacyn, was also in the Hell Vault. So Liliana convinced Thalia, who was a Cathar of the Church of Avacyn, because Avacyn was created by Soren to protect the humans.
Okay.
So Liliana convinced Thalia, it's like, hey, why don't you break the Hell Vault and let out your protector?
Yeah, what could go wrong?
And so Thalia did just that. She cracked open the Hell Vault, and out came Avacyn. Also, out came the demon that Avacyn was fighting with, Gristlebrand.
Okay.
But unbeknownst to those two, another being also escaped out of the Hell Vault.
And that was
Nahiri.
our future ethnic supremacist.
Yes. So then Nahiri got cooking on her plan to bring the Eldrazi to Innistrad. So she started constructing all of these oh my god, what are they called? They're pointy things that I need to look at. She ended up basically constructing stone things that concentrated magic into a certain point, and like into certain points all over Innistrad. And I cannot remember for the life of me what they're called. I could probably.
I mean, there's a lot of nouns involved. I don't blame you for not being
There's-
able to track them all.
So many nouns.
Earlier, I got venture and delve confused. Those are such different concepts. How could I?
Um,
I'm going to do a quick canvas flip. There's some issues. Not much, just the face shape is a little off. If it makes you feel better, I am really liking how this drawing is coming along.
Oh no, it's looking great.
Thank you. Wasn't fishing for compliments, but I will take them. Unlike fish, compliments you don't need to fish for them to be enjoyable.
Exactly. Yeah, so when the Hell Vault broke, she went back to Zendikar, saw that the Eldrazi were released, and then went back to Innistrad to enact her plan. Cryptoliths, that's what they were called. So she created cryptoliths all across Innistrad, using them to channel the Innistrad's mana, the energy, to certain points to attract the Eldrazi, namely Emrakul, one of the more powerful of the Eldrazi.
Mm-hmm.
And she succeeded.
Nice. Good.
So by drawing Emrakul to Innistrad, she turned the Gothic horror plane into the cosmic horror plane.
Yeah, it's the classic Bloodborne shift of you think this is Victorian horror, but it's actually Lovecraftian horror.
Yeah, look at all these tentacles and lattice. Isn't that fun?
It's not... If I had a dime for every time a major fantasy franchise pulled the old twist from Victorian horror into Lovecraftian horror, I'd have 2 nickels. It's not a lot of money, but it's strange that it happened twice.
Yeah. So she ends up pulling Emrakul to, lay waste, and then the Gatewatch comes in and saves the day.
They're prone to doing that.
Yeah. But her and Soren had a fight, and Soren's like, Are you fucking kidding me? You're sending this giant noodle monster at me because you're angry about some idiots that were like, it wasn't even my fault that they were released. She's like, I'm blaming you though. You're the one that I'm blaming. And he's like, okay, whatever. Well, let's go. And so they fight, and Nahiri ends up stabbing Soren. He's a vampire, so he doesn't die, but stabbing him into a rock. And then using the rocks to puncture him, so he's in too much pain to planeswalk. Okay. And she stone shifts him, so he is stuck in a stone pillar.
So he's stuck in a pillar right now?
No.
Oh, he got out.
By War of the Spark, he freed himself.
Okay. If I were him, I'd be mad at the person who put me in a pillar.
He was pissed. So War of the Spark, it was kind of humorous. There's this giant war going on where these Lazatep zombies are taking over the streets of Ravnica. People are running for their lives. Other planeswalkers are battling these zombies, and there's a few other planeswalkers who joined on Bolas's side, and they're battling against each other. And then just like having their own fucking fight is just Nahiri and Soren jumping from building to building, trying to kill each
Unrelated.
other, completely ignoring the actual war going on.
Giving zero
Their
shits
fight,
about the invading alien dragon monster.
yeah, do not care. They saw each other and they wanted to kill each other.
You know, respectable.
So during the majority of that war, they were just fighting each other until like it got to a point where like Bolas was really kind of winning, and so they're like, okay, time out for like 2 seconds. We should probably help with this.
So they're ignoring the Dragon God because they're like, it's no big deal. The Gatewatch always wins. And then the Gatewatch starts to lose and they're like, we'll help for a second.
Yeah. So, and they also like there's this artifact called the Immortal Sun that Bolas turned on that he got from the with the help of Tezzeret, the metal arm planeswalker I talked about.
Oh god, yeah, he was way back.
Yeah. What the Immortal Sun did, it was like basically he honeypotted all of the planeswalkers to Ravnica, turned on the Immortal Sun, which means they couldn't leave. And so the Gatewatch ended up turning it off, and so a lot of planeswalkers left, except for Soren and Nahiri, who ended up helping the Gatewatch like clean up the rest of the zombies and defeat Bolas in the end.
Did they forgive each other? Move on?
Yeah. So they didn't. They said a temporary truce. And actually at the end, and then Nahiri planeswalked home, and that whole thing happened with Nissa. And at the end of that story, Nahiri blamed Jace for meddling. For essentially, when Jace realized that Nahiri, her like intentions were not like the best, and like her methods were also not the best, he's like, actually, I don't agree with the end result of your plans, so I'm gonna help Nissa instead. And Nahiri planeswalked away, swearing vengeance on Jace for his meddling.
How dare he not be kosher with ethnic supremacy?
Dare.
Like, doesn't he know that she's core?
Yeah.
K-O-R core, not C-O-R-E.
And the fun little fact about the core is that, lore-wise, that they originate from Zendikar. And if they are found, like they're found on Dominaria, which is the hub plane for Magic.
Yeah, it's the main one.
Yeah, talk about they were stolen from Zendikar and brought to Dominaria.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, so that's like Nahiri, and like now with the story that Magic's going through right now with the Phyrexian re-invasion happening, Nissa has essentially, like, Chandra came and found Nissa on Zendikar, and she's like, hey girl, we gotta go save the world again. Like, not the world, we have to save the multiverse from the Phyrexians. And Nissa's like, alright, I'm in. Like if the multiverse is in danger, that means Zendikar is in danger. So I'm gonna help. And
thanks, everyone's getting along now.
Yeah. And Nahiri, so Jace reached out to Nahiri, and Nahiri's like, I want to kill you, right? Just like, yeah, but like, listen, the Phyrexians are going to destroy the multiverse. And Nahiri's like, okay, it's the Phyrexians. They're one of the oldest bad guys in Magic. Yeah, I get it. I'll put this revenge also on the back burner until we deal with the Phyrexians. Nahiri's just very vengeful. Definitely holds a grudge.
That makes sense. Well, I think we are at about time, and I think this drawing's about done. So to leave off, to summarize everything we've learned, it was kind of a D&D plane. A bunch of time ago, 3 super gods showed up and found worse super gods and said the worst super gods need to go in prison, so they put them in prison. That was fucking things up. The elf was like, I bet if I let them out of prison, they'll leave. They didn't. It fucked things up further. Everybody decided, well, we need to come together, including our lovely vampire Drana. Everybody worked together to kill the super bad gods that were in super bad prison, and then mostly people got really into going into dungeons, and that's the story of Zendikar.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That is a very summarized version. And there's another planeswalker we didn't talk about who's from Zendikar, who a lot of people like.
This is the mermaid.
She wasn't really. It's the mermaid.
Okay.
Mer person. Merfolk.
Merlady.
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 So her name's Kiora, and she had a bit of a story. She needed to find a weapon to help with battling the Eldrazi. And so she went to a little plane called Theros. And so Theros is ancient Greece.
Yeah.
And there's a merfolk god named Thassa.
Okay.
And Thassa has this magical bident, which is like a trident, but with 2 points.
It's a 2-pointed trident.
2-pointed trident. And she's like, so Kiora looks at her and is like, I want that. Mm-hmm. So Kiora devises a plan and steals this god's bident and takes it back to Zendikar with her so that she can control any and all sea monsters.
That's pretty rad. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to leave it off there, but I think that sounds cool, and I think I want to talk to you about a few planes, and Theros was one of the ones I had in mind. So I would love that to be our entry point next time for Theros.
Sure thing.
Anyways, thank you so much for talking to me. This was super fun. I learned a lot. It's fun to know a little bit more about Zendikar, because I've always thought it was a really interesting plane, and I had a few cards from it, and I'd be like, what the fuck is an ally? Yeah. Why is this important? What are they allied to each other? Finding out, yeah, they are, it turns out. That was fun. And I hope everybody who's watching this interview discussion on the YouTube channel had a good time. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and push this channel. It's going to take off. We're going to be huge. You want to be on the ground floor. You want to be able to say that you were like subscriber 100 when we reach 1 million. And the way we're doing that, the call to arms I'm giving everybody, other than commenting, because that's huge this early into a channel. If you talk about this show, don't be like, yeah, I know, watch some small YouTuber, no, say it like it's already big. Say, yeah, I was watching the Drawk show, and only elaborate if they ask questions. Anyways, thank you again, Travis, for an awesome conversation.
You're super welcome.
I had a great time. I'd love to do it again. And to everybody out there and to you, good night.